What was your mindset at that point?
I mean, I was willing to be poor for as long as it took. Money is a lagging indicator. You have to be adding value. You have to be separating yourself. If 10 people are emailing you and saying, hey, thank you, this added value to my life, then a million people could be impacted. It was buckle up, get better, stay consistent, don't get emotional about the losses, don't worry about perfection, look at life as sort of a reps game. And it took a long time, maybe longer than it should have or needed to. I just want to remind people of the beauty in life and the things they can do with what they have, and that they don't need all this extra, and they're capable of change and more powerful than they know.
All right, I'm here with Eddie Pinero in North Scottsdale, Pinnacle Peak Trail. We're going to go for a walk and a talk.
Let's do it.
All right, Mr. Eddie. Now, we already did the bulk of our hike, so we're a little bit, I'm a little bit sweaty and winded. First question for you, Eddie. At this particular point in your life, what quote that you've talked about in your videos, in your content, really speaks to you right now?
Ooh, this is a fun one. Well, I love quotes. I mean, I could go on quotes forever, but there's a concept that I think right now, we've had some really good conversations on this over the past couple months, is, in Greg McKeown's book, Essentialism, talks about the art of cutting away, and just how so often our instinct is, well, what can I acquire? What can I get? I need to change. So what's out there I can bring into my world? And he kind of tips that upside down and says, no. Like, what do you have now that you don't need? What are you carrying around that's making life heavy? Because that's step one. And so I've been in sort of a phase of simplification, which is one of the hardest things you can do. So that's been kind of front and center.
Awesome. So on that theme of simplification, what are some things you've done in your life that you've taken away, you've simplified?
So understanding what you're best at and what you want to be the best at, and like going all in on that. And with that, like, comes saying no to opportunities that, if you look at it just pragmatically, seems dumb to say no to, because, they're with successful people and they have upside and all these things, but they can be right and just not right for you. And so to me, that's what simplification has been, finding the courage to say no to some things that, even though it makes you flinch a little bit, in your gut that it's not the thing. And I think the most powerful thing you can do is go all in on like the thing that's going to separate you.
Okay. Now, for those who don't know Eddie, he is an artist. He's a spoken word artist. He's a video artist. He does keynote speeches all around the world. Amsterdam coming up shortly.
Yes, sir.
And so I think I asked you this once a while back, but I think if other people out there are inspired about the type of work that you do, they're both the quality that you put out and the quantity. In my mind, I just assumed you were, in books all day, podcasts all day.
Yeah.
How do you get your inspiration for, and get access to new ideas and content? Like, what is your workflow, if you don't mind sharing?
Not at all. I mean, I think it's listening and paying attention to life, which sounds easy, but it's not, because we're always thinking about what can I say. So like, it's just in our conversations with you. I mean, I've had speeches come from the things I've learned in our discussions, paying attention to like the highs and lows, and hey, I loved this, I wonder why, or hey, I got my ass kicked, let's explore, and finding meaning in some of that stuff. Music, stories, movies, everything, just life. And when you do that, when you turn that on, you find yourself just letting more in. You become a student of life, and that's not something reserved for anybody. Like, we can all do that in our own world. Listen, ask questions, pay attention to the things happening around you, and it becomes fun. It's actually hard to shut it off once you get used to, looking at life like that.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, you've been, how many years have you been, when did you start on your journey? How many years ago was that?
10, I left the corporate world and started writing songs and writing speeches, and just sort of delving into inspirational storytelling in different mediums.
So over the last 10 years, can you share a few of the interactions you've had with people that have been inspired or have told you that your work has helped them in some way?
Yeah.
Can you highlight some of those?
I mean, the messages I get are amazing. I can tell you, like, one of the conversations personally I got from someone that changed my life was this man named Rod, and I've written about him a little bit because it was just such a profound. You know, every once in a while something happens and it's like an inflection point. So he's a Hollywood producer and sort of a big shot in his own world, and sent me this message and was like, Eddie, love your speeches. I have a keynote. Will you help me write it? And I'm like, yeah, just, you know, channel was small. I'm just like, anything to be in your circle and be around great people, I'm in. So he flew to Florida, talked a little bit about what he want, met him in a hotel lobby, and he says, so can you do that? And I said, absolutely. And he said, well, how much is it going to cost me? And I'm like, oh, Rod, I don't care. You know, price is not like, let's just work together. And he looked at me and he's like, Eddie, you got to be a salesman, brother. And it wrote me a check for more than I'd made at that point. He's like, from now on, you're never worth less than this.
Oh, wow.
And I always say, like, obviously the check was amazing. I needed it. Like, I really did need the money. But I left more importantly with like, oh my God, like I define my worth. The world won't believe it until I do. Like there's so much going on here. Right. And it's like, how often does someone come up to you and just say, hey buddy, you're better than that? Not a lot.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I always think of that as one of the most important conversations I've ever had.
Excuse me. Morning.
Morning.
So when you think about, I mean, this is, I think this may resonate with a lot of people out there that are called to a purpose of doing something, and potentially initially they're worried about how to monetize it. Could actually get in their way.
Yes.
There's a quote that says, you know, do what doesn't scale at first. That's how you figure out how to scale it. So for you at that time, you were willing to do, you know, things for free.
Yep.
What was your mindset at that point? Why were you doing it?
I mean, I was willing to be poor for as long as it took. I agree with you. Like, I think particularly in the arts or like, you know, creating, storytelling, whatever, music, money is a lagging indicator.
Yeah.
Like you have to be adding value. You have to be separating yourself. There has to be something you're bringing to the market that's unique and special. And it takes a long time to, you know, to craft that, to chisel that marble. And, you know, I forget who coined the term, but like I learned pretty quickly that what I did at a small scale was helping people. And it's like, well, if you can do it, if 10 people are emailing you and saying, hey, thank you, this added value to my life, then a million people could be impacted, right? So it was buckle up, get better, stay consistent, don't get emotional about the losses, you know, don't worry about perfection, look at life as sort of a reps game. And it took a long time, maybe longer than it should have or needed to. But it was just trust and patience, and that's how I hung in there.
Tell me about as you look back, what you would define as some of your biggest milestones or things you're really proud of yourself for in the past, and then I'm going to ask you to share what you're looking forward to in the future.
Yeah. I think one of the coolest things is just the folks reaching out on a day-to-day basis. And the reason that's powerful is because online obviously is a numbers game.
Yeah.
It's metrics. And so when you see numbers, it means a lot less than, you know, a note or a letter from someone. So that's always really cool. I mean, I guess professionally, speaking at the MGM Grand was a big one.
Tell me about that audience. What was the situation? And
yeah, it was a private company, like a sales meeting, but they packed the auditorium, and it was just really, really special getting up there. And
was that your biggest venue at the time?
It was, yeah.
Awesome.
And it was a huge jump from what I'd previously done too, so it felt bigger, you know. It was cool. So that I think you know, being able to employ some friends and family has been really rewarding and fun. Yeah, just continually putting out video and growing the YouTube channel. It's been awesome. And then in the future, it's funny. So I was talking to a friend of mine, Evan Carmichael, about this, and he said something, and I agreed with him because I've always been stuck on this question. And it's, you know, he said, if you know what you're doing 5 years from now, you're not thinking big enough.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, that resonates with me, you know, because I'm not saying go in blind, you know, have a North Star, but be willing to explore and navigate, and don't be stuck on something, because you continuously evolve and move in ways that you maybe couldn't have predicted if you're, you know, following your intuition. So that's my answer to that one.
Okay.
You know, more storytelling, more inspiration, but the means or the vehicle of expression could, I don't know, we'll see.
So you hinted at this. When you think about your current or even your bigger purpose, it's a big question, you know. Actually, I'm going to preface this with, I always make fun of my wife because on one of our first dates, we were hiking a mountain here, and literally like 10 minutes up when I'm out of breath, she's like, so tell me about your religion. And I'm just like, really?
That's a tough spot.
But you had time to warm up on this one. So, but what do you see your purpose as at the current time?
Yeah. So I think it's reminding people that they're always one decision away from a totally different life. I think that little perspective shift, and that is the key, little. It doesn't have to be big. It's why, like, because human beings aren't pragmatic. We're emotional. We need to feel. And so to me, I like being the carrier of messages that are small, simple, and help people look around and go, yeah, I can change my life, not by, you know, I don't need to hit a home run. There's no Hail Mary here. Like, what's one little thing I can do better? And there's a trillion different iterations of that message, and some relate to others more or less. But that's it. Like, I just want to remind people of the beauty in life and the things they can do with what they have, and that they don't need all this extra, and they're capable of change and more powerful than they know. Again, similar to the Rod story, because people don't come along and say that much, and I know what it's like to have that little tap on the shoulder. It can change your life, you know.
That's great. It's powerful.
Yeah.
Do you do anything tactically to remind yourself of your purpose? Do you have, you know, something posted on your mirror in the morning to remind yourself, or it's just in you at this point?
It's instilled. I mean, I listen to you know, a lot of personal development, and try and keep my mind there. Try and keep myself creative and flowing, and because I do think it's a muscle, you know, and my tendency first is never to be like, oh, this is so great. You know, no, my mind looks for problems. And so it's a continuous step back and find value. And, you know, anything I can do to help me position that is great. Little things like even the cold plunge that we talked about, just like intentional suffering because you can, and you learn like, hey, I can do some pretty hard stuff, you know, things like that are valuable.
That's great. Thank you for that. So, how long have you been out here in Scottsdale? I think it's almost your 1 year anniversary.
Coming up. So November, I came out here. So like 9 months ago.
Okay.
And,
you wanted to do a promo reel for the city of Scottsdale. What do you love about it?
So I came from Florida. I was in Florida for 6 years. Florida was the best place I've lived until I came to Scottsdale. I absolutely love
Sorry,
Scottsdale.
Florida.
Yeah, I love the people. I mean, look around. Like,
actually, let me do a quick look.
Yeah,
around
let's
here.
do a little pan.
Let's look around. So this is a park, a state park, and then right on this border, you have these really nice golf course communities. I guess the video doesn't actually do it justice, but yeah,
it's absolutely beautiful.
So you're loving it.
And the community, like the people's, like, I don't know if it's because it's a transient place, but people are welcoming and open, and just some beautiful connections here. It's a really wonderful spot, you know.
Awesome. Any final words? We're done with our hike here.
Just a W all around. Thanks for getting my ass out of bed at 5 a.m. You know, it's perfect.
It's always good hanging and talking with you.
Likewise.
Right.
And for all the inspiration, Ollie, you're the man.
All right, let's see what the next video holds. Thank you.